Hi everyone! Today we're going to take a quick look at how the Nintendo Switch Online GameCube Controller, which is seen on the left and is a wireless controller manufactured by Nintendo, compares to the wireless GameCube controller seen on the right, which is manufactured by the third-party PowerA. So we'll start just by looking at the appearance of the controllers. You can see that the size and form factors of the two controllers are actually very similar, and the general layout of the buttons is also very similar, which you would expect from two wireless GameCube controllers. There are more buttons at the front of the controller on the PowerA option. You can see that in place of the start button, there are actually plus and minus and home and capture buttons, and the LED indicator lights are actually at the front of the controller on the PowerA option. We'll take a look at how the buttons feel and their sizes in a second, but let's first take a look at the tops of the controllers. And so you can see that there are the LED indicator lights on the Nintendo Switch Online version at the top of the controller, as well as the home and capture buttons, and the new C button, which are not present on the PowerA option. And you can see that there's also a USB-C charge port on the Nintendo Switch Online option. And that is not on the PowerA option because the PowerA option is actually powered by AA batteries, while the Nintendo Switch Online version can be charged via USB-C. Another thing to note is that the two front triggers on the PowerA option are both the same size and shape, while on the Nintendo Switch Online option, more true to the original GameCube controller, you just have the blue front right trigger, and then the front left trigger on the Nintendo Switch Online option is just actually a little guy. All right, now let's take a look at how some of these buttons feel. Let's start out with the A button. Okay, the A button is clickier on the PowerA option. Let's take a look at the X buttons. Okay, the X button is definitely clickier on the PowerA option. Same thing for the Y button. Let's take a look at the B button. B buttons are actually very similar. Now let's take a look at the joystick here. The joystick here. Okay, I have to say that the Nintendo Switch Online joystick moves a lot more smoothly. Just feels smoother. Yeah, this PowerA one is definitely more clicky. Feels like the plastic is just a bit cheaper. Although I will say, you know, they both work with the notches just fine. And then let's take a look at these D-pads. Okay, they're both very mushy D-pads. Not D-pads that I would want to use with Tetris, but as you can see, the D-pad on the Nintendo Switch Online option is actually a lot smaller than the D-pad on the PowerA option. And let's take a look at the C-sticks. Okay, so they definitely feel very different. As you can see, the C-stick is actually quite a bit taller on the PowerA version. Okay, so now that we've seen how the controllers feel in the hand, let's actually see how much they weigh. And let's just get a scale set up here. I will say, based on how they feel in the hand, I think they feel very similar. The PowerA option might be slightly lighter, but let's take a look. Okay, looks like the Nintendo Switch Online controller weighs 210 grams. And it looks like the PowerA option weighs about 202 grams. So based on that, I would say that, the The weight difference is pretty slight, but the Nintendo Switch Online GameCube controller option does weigh slightly more than the PowerA option, although it's not something that you will necessarily notice in your hand. All right, so that's all I wanted to test for this video. If you have any questions, let me know. Thanks.